Hello, welcome to Breakaway with Dawn and Friends. I'm going to greet you as my breakaways. I've been posting about it. It resonates with me. And if you know, you know, this is Dawn, and I want to welcome you back and welcome myself back to another episode because it's been a minute. So, today's episode, I want to call it Blind Spots. And we're not just talking about the ones that, while you're driving, but it's the ones in your life, the things that you don't realize about ourselves that affect us, how we show up, how we love, how we parent. I'm gonna emphasize parent, and how we connect. So, of course, I couldn't have this conversation alone or with anyone else because self awareness is usually the best outcome, right? When you have someone holding that mirror up with you, right? So, or just to bounce off, your ideas, your opinions, your feelings. So, none other. I've had to ask Miss Claudia to join
Mhm.
me. Hi, Claudia.
Hi, Don. Nice to see you. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me here today. I'm
Yes.
happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I hope you're going to enjoy talking about this.
I'm
Um,
sure I will. I like the title already.
right. Blind
Yeah,
spots.
a good
So,
intro.
yes. So, sometimes the things you can't see or don't want to see, that's what really shapes how we move through life, right? And so I want to share with you, Claudia, and everyone, because I felt like it's a topic that most of us can resonate with. So I
Mhm.
wanted to share an aha moment I had. So, and then if you and I can just break it down from our experiences in life and parenting, because I will say this might be, since we don't practice or have an outline,
Mhm.
it might be geared more towards parenting, but I think, if people will take the time to be open and reflect, they can maybe
Mhm.
see it in different areas of their life, right? So
Sure.
let me start with where this came from.
Okay. Tell me. Tell me.
So lately, my daughter and I, she's about to be 18, we have been bumping heads. And I know that, like, I should be expecting that. That's normal. But our arguments, and especially this one, really stopped me in my tracks.
Okay.
And it's, again, like, we've had, like, I've talked about her a lot. We've had a great relationship. We talk a lot. So this year's been challenging.
Mhm.
So I realize that I've been responding to her based on how I grew up.
Okay.
So, yes, I know that, by the way, like, because I can only do what I know. Like, I feel like I knew that, right? Like,
Right.
and I always tell her not to compare, and then I'm over here comparing. But it's not that I was comparing. It's just like, this is my experience, right?
Right.
So I think most people know now that I had to be independent very young, and I didn't have a lot of space to lean on anyone. So I've had to learn to figure things out,
Right.
right? I think we all know that by now.
Mhm.
So when she comes to me for help, well, she tries not to come to me for help, but when she comes to me for, like, guidance, if she wants support, of course I offer, right?
Yeah.
Naturally, that's my reaction. Without even realizing it, it becomes, okay, well, then if she doesn't want to receive it, well, then figure it out,
Right.
right? So when I thought I'm being strong, of course, right? Teaching her resilience, but really I was treating her based on my experience and not hers.
Mm. Okay.
I know that was a mouthful, sorry.
No, 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 no. I made note of what you said, how you're responding to her with the way on the in the way that you grew up, right?
Yes.
So some things that you probably noticed instantly, I would imagine. Was it an automatic thing that came to you, or
Oh, yeah.
okay? So right away, you what flooded yourself with the thoughts of reminding yourself how you
Well,
grew
no,
up.
I'll take it back.
Okay.
It's not that it was right, wasn't, or was right away. Like, so we're in it, like, we're going
Okay.
in, back and forth,
Right.
and then I realized, I don't know, like, uh maybe at the end of it, I don't remember at the moment because this has been a couple weeks, but I think I remembered after processing, like, oh my God. Or I don't remember right now if it was in the middle
Yeah.
of it or at the end of it,
Okay.
but I remember at some point, and then I was like, okay, back off, back down.
Sure. Okay.
Like I've said before, try to listen more. I try, guys. So yes, I
Wow.
think, and we've had many, by the way, recently. Like I
Okay.
said, this year has been tough. Um, and I think I shared on the last parenting, when we talked about parenting, I came to that aha moment. I heard someone say it's difficult because they want to let go. They want to, they know they have to be independent. So like
Mhm.
their grouchiness, their frustration and all that is they're realizing they have to let go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of remember that too. So
Mhm.
I know it's normal, but it just weighed heavy on me. And I think
Sure.
because I'm always open to like grow and to like,
Mhm.
you know, what's my part in it? What can I do? Self-reflecting. I'm always talking about that. So I just feel it's
Yeah.
powerful, and it hit me, and I realized a blind spot. So I need to remember not to focus on the independence that I had. And
Sure.
sometimes with that, I'm missing opportunities to just be present
Mm.
and
Mhm.
let her process in her own way. I am
Mhm.
not going to lie. I struggle with that. And I remember even before becoming a mom, I remember
Yeah.
telling someone because they thought I was so self-centered. And I'm like, no, it is about me because it can be about me, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm not
Sure.
self-centered. I have no reason to put anyone else in the front of me. I was, single or whatever, right?
Right.
But I remember saying at that time, and this is way before the parent, like, dang, I don't know how I would do if my child wasn't like me because I only
Mhm.
know my way, right? And I had to learn, right? So I do
Sure.
remember thinking that prior that might be a blind spot,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
realizing it, calling it a blind spot. But I
Right.
do remember thinking, God, how am I going to deal with, like, for instance, if I have a child that doesn't have, that's not strong minded, that's not independent, that's not confident, excuse
Yeah.
me. Yeah, confident because I'm not
Sure.
conceited. I'm confident, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. No,
things,
it's
I
a
remember
good
thinking
way
that.
to reframe that. Yes. Yeah. So then you're calling it this blind spot. Well, I think your human instinct came, right? As parents, we don't know the blueprint that we're gonna get, right?
Hmm.
We'd imagine that we're gonna, hope and I don't want to say pray, but we hope that, oh, my child might be attuned to how I would like to parent because why wouldn't they, right? It's my
Hmm.
child. They have
Hmm.
genetic traits that are alike, so I would imagine that they would react in a certain
Yes.
way. But when you get thrown at you a curveball that, whoa, wait, I wasn't expecting this fastball. Like I've been practicing to only get this, but I ended up getting something different. I think that's when it takes us by surprise as parents,
Yes,
right?
right. It's like a patterns, right? It's
Right.
habits, right, that come from my past, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
sometimes my trauma, right, or my
Mhm.
survival mode, because I've had
Yeah.
to go into that so early, like
Sure.
I build automatic responses or something. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
That, like I
Absolutely.
said, that protects me, or I think I said that to you earlier, But
Yeah.
now I can see that can get in the way of connecting.
Mhm. Yeah, and those automatic responses is what we want to be attuned to, which is what you're giving an example for, which I would imagine you're sharing this insight with others so that they too can sense that, hey, we do have blind spots. And that's going to
Mhm.
be as in parenthood, that's going to be in wifehood, that's going to be in husbandhood, sisterhood, brotherhood, whatever, because these blind spots prevent us from realizing or even sometimes wanting to realize because it can be very difficult. Why? Because it could be painful to go there because we want to stray away from feeling uncomfortable, right?
Yes,
It doesn't
yes.
feel good when you're feeling uncomfortable. It's like this is uncharted waters. Again, I always keep saying that because that's what it is. You're transitioning into something that you've never experienced before, right? So when daughter throws a curveball, or says something or doesn't react in a certain way, innately you're going to respond in a very reactive way,
Mhm.
and you remove yourself from being so present, like you said, right?
Yeah,
Wanting.
and it's funny because I thought, again, I was trying to be all the things I didn't have and be
Mhm.
all the things that I felt I needed, and it did take me away from, paying. attention to the
Mhm.
small details of life. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not, I mean, I gave her great things, compassion, understanding, you know what I mean? My
Right.
patience, my time, all, like, again, all those great things. But it just hit me like, oh my God, I am responding to her
Mhm.
like in the sense of, okay, well, I tried. So, you figure out at this point. Because I don't like to force things. I'm not one to,
Right.
you know, it's funny, like people see that I'm disciplined, they see I'm a certain way. And they'd always say,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm sure your kids." People just put this preconceived notion of like
Um,
how I would be as a parent. It's funny is I'm more free than what people think.
okay.
But what I am rigid on, I'm rigid on. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That's the funny part. But I am a very free, open person. So I feel since I felt so like in a box and was so controlled
Mhm.
for whatever, however long that was, I don't
Right.
feel that's my job as a parent. My job I felt was to give
Right.
that guidance, to give that structure,
Mhm.
embrace what they like. Again, I thought I did all the right things, but not realizing when she clearly when it wasn't being received, because again, she's not me, she's different than me. I'd be like,
Right.
oh well, figure it out. Like I would just let it be. Then I'm like, look, I gave you everything. Like but not saying that, but the added everything, the undertone, the underlying, the actions, right?
Sure.
And then it's like, well, damn. Like I'm sure that
Yeah.
made them like, what am mom? I don't know, but it was just
Right.
interesting. Like it just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think, it's those imperfections that we see in ourselves that I think help us grow and continue to challenge ourselves more, right? Because you're taking a step back and you're realizing, obviously not in the midst of it did you
Hmm.
realize in that very moment, perhaps, but it took some self-reflection, right? And tapping into that for you to realize, wow, that didn't feel good. That
Mm-mm,
wasn't necessarily how I
mm-mm.
anticipated for my
Right.
response to be,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I'm not dealing with, 18-year-old Dawn. I'm
Right.
dealing with, Evie. And it was like, oh
Mhm.
crap. And
Yeah.
because obviously she, as strong as she is, because she is, but
Right.
she didn't have to grow up so fast. You know what I mean? And so
Sure.
there's still more vulnerability. There's still more of a neediness. There's
Mhm.
still more of those things, even though that's not what she wants. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that's she's struggling, and I see it now. She's struggling with like she doesn't want to need us. She doesn't want to, you
Oh,
know, do you know what I
sure.
mean? So, and a part of that's probably because she wants to make us proud, possibly have a
Sure.
point to prove,
Yes.
be as good or better, all those things, right?
Right.
Like, so I
Right.
think it's a mixture of things. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I'm like, I mean, look, not lucky, but lucky for both of us because I'm all
Mhm.
about wanting to, be better, do better kind of a thing, right?
Sure.
So,
Sure.
um, I think just now all I can do is, to start breaking away from that for me,
Yeah.
obviously is the first step is realizing, which I just
Sure.
did, right?
Right.
And when it's about pausing in the moments and
Mhm.
asking, am I like reacting
Mhm.
from what's actually really happening right
Right.
now? Or am I reacting to my past?
Mhm. Right, right. And I think that's the part that, it takes practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we're not necessarily always used to going through that phase, or sometimes we go through things and we don't realize, and
Mm-hmm.
it passes, and then guess what? Another situation happens, and then there you go
Mm-hmm.
again. You
Repeats and
pass through it, and
repeats.
you're not
Yes.
repeat. But this, I think, was a perfect opportunity. This sounds like a very challenging year as we all experience different challenges in our lives. And we realize, geez, why do I keep having this challenge? It seems to keep presenting itself.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? And I think I don't, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I think those are the challenges that we continue to have because we haven't breaking away from that pattern that we want
Right.
to get rid of, right? So it
Right.
keeps showing up.
Yes, and I remember now that you said something that sparked my memory. Like, I
Uh-huh.
feel that like because I did so much early on, right? And I did for myself, and I had to figure it out, whatever, right? I don't know. It like bothers me sometimes that I see the entitlement my kids have because it's
Mhm.
like I have done a lot. Other parents may do more. Don't get me wrong, right? But I've done a lot. I have been a lot, like, and it just, and I know it's a generational thing too in the times, but it
Mhm.
it does irk me a little bit the entitlement that these kids have these days, right?
Sure.
So I think a part of that, like, I let get in the way too. Like, because it's like, wow, how can you be so entitled and expect that? Like, and in my head, I don't feel I say it, but I
Right.
think my demeanor, my attitude, my actions are like, you figure that out. That's for you. Like, why do
Mhm.
I? Like, but again, this is me treating her or the situation as my younger self and not being present in that moment. So it was like, now I'm not saying I can change, overnight or so I'm going to give
Sure.
myself that grace because I think that's the next step, right?
Right.
Is, giving yourself that grace. I'm not a bad mom. I just have a blind spot. And that means I'm still growing. And I really do believe, you know, if you're open and willing, you're always going to grow, right? And you're always going to, learn and all of that. But it was funny when I realized, like, and I probably feel she thinks, or I think she's more entitled because,
Mhm.
again, I had to do so much on my own. And with them
Sure.
expecting so much of me, it's like, good Lord.
Right.
Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And I think when we realize, I mean, clearly it's a lot of generational things that are playing into part here too, like you said. But also too, I think it's important that when you recognize, for example, that your child is potentially in that phase of entitlement is, and then you start to think as a parent, well, I didn't have it that way. Well,
Mhm,
I had to work really hard to get to where I am, et cetera,
mhm,
whatever the thoughts are, is
mhm,
also being mindful that you pay attention to that and realize, okay, that's coming up for me. Am I feeling a certain way? Like, could I, because I've had parents say, I kind of feel resentful. I feel
mhm,
resentful of the fact that,
mhm.
I mean, it's my child. I love them and I want the best for them, etc. But you don't know how easy you have it. And when I hear parents say that, right, we think, okay, well, what's that about when it comes to you saying that and feeling that? Could there be an underlying something of like, well, you don't know because you just don't understand. And we don't do it with ill
Malicious,
intentions,
yeah, yeah,
but I think it's important too to recognize that, right? Is there an underlying feeling of some kind of resentment or maybe anger towards the fact that you went through something, not at your child necessarily,
right,
but anger towards the circumstances that you had to go through, right? Which is again,
yeah.
it's the residue that's left
Yes,
over, right? That
yes.
impacts and ties back into how you parent your child, you know?
It's so, so true because I can tell I remember being a kid and thinking, oh, watch when I have my kids, and I feel we all do this. We're going to be different, do different. And I honestly did. Like,
Mhm.
you know, but it's funny how you can't, I'm sorry, unless you do the work, you really cannot break away from the childhood like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I can have those intentions to be certain things, but at the end of the day, it's learned behavior.
Mhm.
What you went through as a child is
Right.
learned behavior. You develop, mechanisms to protect yourself. Like we've talked about this before, how women compartmentalize. And let me
Mhm.
tell you, like, it's funny. I can talk to a friend and tell them what I'm going through, and they're just like, "How do you see it that way? How can you deal? How can you, you know, just put that to the side and move on?" And like, I had to. That's how I survived my childhood. Like, and I'm so aware of that. But I just didn't realize the lack of tolerance it gave me for
Mhm.
certain situations.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah, because it has to tie into something else. I mean, it's natural because
I
that's a
know.
coping mechanism, right? It's like, okay, well, I fell, I have to pick myself up. No one's gonna come and give
Yes.
me a hand. I gotta move, because
Yes.
otherwise, what do I do? Either it's sink or swim,
Yes.
it's fight or
Yeah.
flight. What am I doing here? So
Yeah.
I think that like you said, when people realize that, hey, how do you do this, Don? How do you separate one from the other? How do you not open yourself to the idea that I can put this aside for a minute? And a lot of parents struggle, they struggle through that because it can be very difficult, to
I know.
turn the blind eye and pretend it's not there, but it's tolerance that you're building and you're modeling for your kids. Like, okay, look, I'm going to take a step back. I'm not going to explode right now. You know
Yeah.
why? Because it's going to take everything out of me not to,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it's okay to do that. And it's okay not to be I don't want to say perfect because we're not perfect, but it's
Mhm.
okay to make mistakes. It's okay to give yourself grace. It's okay, because giving grace, allows you to really hone in on those blind spots, like you said earlier.
Yes. And you said something that's going to trigger this thought. What I'm about to say
Mhm.
is, I also realized, I'm telling it's been a lot. There's been like, I mean, there was one like a couple weeks where it was literally every interaction was an argument, something different. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you are exhausting me, my God. Like, I am not your punching bag. Like, I
Yeah.
just can't, because I'll let her say whatever. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Or what, we'll go back and forth. And finally, I was like, girl, your truth is not my truth. I am not throwing down your throat what I think and what I feel and what I want. So don't do that to me. Like, and that
Mhm.
was my biggest thing is like, give me the grace I'm giving you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, it's been truly so difficult.
Yeah.
And I remember witnessing when before becoming a mom, or maybe when she was
Mhm.
smaller, I would see parents go at it, or like, oh, you don't even know, they don't even get along, like mom and daughter. And I was like, well, I would never, all these things. And now I'm like, okay, girl, the door is there, right? And I never thought I'd say that because I'm just like, if this is not working for you, what do you want me to do? Like, so
Mhm.
then it's like, oh my God, I never thought I would say that. But that's in that moment, it's like, oh my God, I'm treating her like I didn't like something. And my
Yeah.
parents were not going to change. So
Right.
I innately knew I had to make the change if I want to change. So I up and left. Right. So it's
Right.
like I
Exactly.
keep treating every scenario like, well, look, you have these options. Pick it or move on. Like, like it's just so interesting. But
Mhm.
I think I also finally understand, like, not to take away from my experience, because I do feel the things that I do remember are factual, not my pains or feelings from childhood. But I was like,
Right.
damn, my truth is not necessarily my parents' truth,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Because,
Exactly.
right? And I finally realized that with her, like,
Mhm.
okay, I see how that's how you see that. I see that you see it that way. I see that you've experienced that, but that's not mine. And I'm not going to carry
Mhm.
it. Like, I refuse. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you said something just now that when you are in a disagreement, and your automatic thought is, okay, well, I've given you everything I could, like the door is there, that we
Mm-hmm.
also remind ourselves that, you know, we're going to have disagreements, and we're going
Mm-hmm.
to sometimes agree to disagree, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to always offer you the door as another option or as
Right.
an option, right?
Right. Right.
Because that's not always a solution,
Right.
right?
No.
And I think that's the hard part, because what we're doing here is, I want to help you so bad, but there's only so much I can give you. There's only so much I
Mm-hmm.
can do. There's only much I can say. There's only so much I can
Mm-hmm.
tolerate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's our way of crying for help, is saying, look, I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
else I can do, but there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing more. So there's a door, the word that,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's our own anxiety kicking in
Mm-hmm.
and saying,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to do for you. I'm
Right.
helpless. I feel helpless right now
Right.
because you're
Yeah.
not, this
Wow.
is not, we're not connecting right now. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
feel hopeless. And we're like, you know what? You know where the door is.
Yeah.
And that could go not only for a parent-child relationship, but that could also be with the significant other or a
Right.
friend or whoever.
Right.
But I think it's really good that you're realizing and you're connecting to all of this, because we all experience and we all have these
Mhm.
moments where we're just like,
Mhm.
I don't know what else to do. And
Yeah.
rather than sitting there and crying about it, or saying,
Mhm.
I give up, or I no, that's our way. You've
Yeah.
learned
Yeah, I mean,
to.
I wanna be softer, but I'm not gonna lie, that's hard. It's
Mhm,
funny because I can be so compassionate, so understanding, and
mhm,
patient and tolerant. I could be all those things,
mhm,
but I'm
mhm.
not gonna lie, when I reach my limit, I reach my limit. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
human just like everyone else. My cup gets
Mhm.
full, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and it's just like, what more can I give you? It's just, and like I said, again, I'm reacting as if I was my 16-year,
Mhm.
when I was almost 17. Like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. Then I'm just going to remove myself. I'm going to leave, like,
Right.
so it's just funny. I just see it show up more than ever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'm like,
And
oh my God, like, I truly inside want to be softer, But I guess I don't want to say I don't know how, but it's just hard
Yeah.
for
And
me.
I think a lot of it too is being mindful of when we experience a, you know, significant challenges in our lives as we grow, right? You probably heard this, where we're stuck in that certain stage of our life
Mhm.
when we're re-triggered by something that
Mhm.
reminds us of that. And if you think about it, your daughter is transitioning to being 18, which is
Mhm.
around the similar age when you started to maybe get to the point where you're like, I'm gonna up and leave because I can't do this anymore. So it's almost like when they turn that age where you experience the most challenging moments is when you start to, it's almost like it ignites you, and
Mhm.
the word trigger, and
Mhm.
we're like, crap, that was me when I, like you said, that was me when I was 16, that was me when I was, going
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
17, in this case going
Mhm.
on 18. But there's a lot of similarities there, and that just means that there's still more work to do there, right?
1000%. I'm realizing that, wow, okay, I was supportive, but
Mhm.
in the way that I defined it.
Right, right.
And
Yeah.
not, and I know I feel like I keep saying this, but it just keeps coming to that realization to my mind, you guys. Like, because I'm like reliving the moment in a sense as I'm trying to talk to you. But it's like I just remember, you
Mhm.
know, yeah, it was difficult, but
Right.
I am human, and I'm going to be open to receive and
Mhm.
to try to
Mhm.
understand and be better, do better. And I always feel, if I can be that and do that, why can't anyone else? And again, this could be a friend, not just my daughter, to your
Right.
point, you know, and like, even when it's at work, like, it's so funny. Like, if you're so set on, like, this is what I'm trying to achieve, but you can't see the way you're going about how you're achieving that,
Mhm.
compromises the value in what you're doing or whatever. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, so even with work, like, it's funny. Sometimes I am quick to see it in others because I am a little more disciplined at work, because you have to be.
Yeah.
At home, you're more free, right? Like, in
Right.
that regard. But it's funny when I see it, like, wow, you can't even see that you're this way in that situation. But then it
No.
always makes me think, oh God, have I done that? When have I done that? How have I done that? But
Mm.
I just feel like, with doing that, and my boss tells me, you're a better person than me. Well, I try to be. Like, I try to always think, what can I do differently? All those things. So
Sure.
I just think, if people are sitting here like, ooh, questioning themselves too, I think
Mhm.
it's, you gotta, like we said, start with just realizing it, giving yourself that grace, right? It's
Yeah.
not easy.
No.
And I feel I'm still gonna find things out about myself. And I can tell
Yeah.
you, it's always been a fear, because I think I've always been in protective mode and controlling.
Mm.
And if people see why I'm possessive and controlling, it's because, when you have to grow up fast and do things a certain way, you
Yeah.
know, the only assurance you have is within what I can do, my limits. Do you know what I'm
Sure.
saying? Like, what I can do. So
Mhm.
yes, like, I'm telling you, like, even when it comes down to my birthday, like, I'll be damned if I let you forget my birthday. If you
Mhm.
forget it, that's because of you, not because of me. Like, when you really look at me and how I am,
Yeah.
and if you know about me and my birthday, it's because you know. But it's, if you don't, then sorry. But that's an
Right.
example. Do you know what I mean? And
Right.
like, and it's, for me, it's the little things that matter. Like, it's so
Mhm.
funny. You can do something so wrong. And Claudia, I'm curious to ask you this. So, like,
Right.
considering I felt so wronged by my parents or whatever, right? Stuff happened,
Mhm.
major things. I've had to
Sure.
learn to, like, okay, I can't control it or change it. I'm going to let it go. It, like, it's the big things don't affect me the way they may affect someone else. But it's
Mm.
those small little things that,
Mhm.
like, ooh, that get me, because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, now, like, am I saying, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, whether it's a lie, or whether you put me in a position, or if you, again, don't remember my birthday, like, that's a thing for me, or you don't show up when you said you're going to show up. Like, all these little things that people think are little are big to me
Right.
because of my experience. Is that making
Right.
sense?
Yeah, and I think it's because had your potentially parents noticed those tiny little things, because you weren't asking for much and that's all you
No.
wanted, just those little minuscule things
Mm-hmm.
that to you are minuscule
Mm-hmm.
but extremely important, which is I think now why you hone in on that,
Yes.
because you figured, hell, at the very least, freaking show up when you say that you're going to show up, because
Yes.
that's
Yes.
important to me,
Yes, it
right?
is.
So I think that that makes complete sense. And even if those people don't be like, really, Don, you're going to let that go, but you're not going to let
Yes,
this
I
go.
am.
Yeah, yeah, I am. And people don't know because sometimes they don't know the backstories, and they don't have to know the backstories. They just
No.
have to know that that's what's important and significant to you,
Thank
right?
you.
Yes,
Yes. So I'm
absolutely.
even learning about myself right now because, I was talking to my friend about
Hmm.
something recently, and it's like she's
Hmm.
like, I don't know, like, okay, that's like that bothers you. That surprised me. I didn't think it would, but it's like, girl, it is the little things. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't. It just, I swear they speak volumes. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you can't honor this thing, then I, I don't know. I can't. Like, then
Mhm.
what's going to happen when it comes to a bigger situation or a bigger thing? Do you know? Like, I'm
Sure.
not going to let you take me
Sure.
there. Does that make sense? That's my form
Exactly.
of protection too.
Absolutely. I was going to say that's a just innate defense mechanism that you
Yeah.
have. I'm not going to allow myself for you to take me somewhere even of a bigger disappointment when this already itself could be a disappointment to me. Why would I allow myself to be even more vulnerable to you if you can't even show up for me for this? It just,
Mm-mm, mm-hmm,
but again, so imagine you're saying, okay, it's taken me X amount of years, right? Through all these experiences, right? All these doors you've had to open and close throughout your journey in
mm-hmm,
life to where you're at now. And thinking of our children who are, young, going, transitioning to adulthood, 18,
mm-hmm,
19 year olds who, that's when we want to remember, okay, they're 19 years in, right? We're 40 plus years in.
mm-hmm,
The difference and the amounts of experiences. And that's what I always tell
mm-hmm.
parents, think of it that way. I get it. For us, it makes sense because, hello, we've been on this earth 40 plus
Mm-hmm.
years. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to make more sense. But for some, and even then, in our 40s, 50s, whatever, 60s, we're still trying to figure ourselves out because
Yes.
sometimes
Yes.
things don't make sense. So put ourselves in the perspective of an 18, 19-year-old mindset
Mm-hmm.
and how much more they have to live and learn, and remind ourselves of that when we are going through these challenging discussions where you're like, can you just see my point? And your kid is like, no, I'm right because I know better. You're
Right.
thinking, no, you don't. So
Yes.
this is what I'm saying. It's important. I know we hear this, is very cliche to say this, but we have to pick and choose our battles. And I
Oh,
think
yes.
sometimes
Yes. Yeah.
our kids don't want us to figure things out for them
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. I think it's more, mom, dad, just listen to me. Just hear me out. Just sit there and say nothing.
Right. No,
Sit
but I
there.
promise you, like, I take pride on that. I have been
Yeah.
very supportive in that regard, right? I do
Yeah.
listen, right?
Right.
And I'm so much more present than what I
Mm-hmm.
experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just in that moment I realized, like I said, like, okay, I'm listening. Okay, I'm doing this. Okay, you don't see it this way. So it's kind of like, well, then, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I hear
No.
you, and I did pride myself on that. But it was just like, wow, I do have a blind spot. Like, wow, like where I thought I was my strongest, I actually have a blind spot. Do you know what I mean? And it's because again, how I had to, see again how I defined it, how I dealt with it, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. I just it was just, I feel more will come out of this. About
Yeah.
honestly, I think
Sure.
the more we talk about this, the more we reflect.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. I feel like I have the words and they're not coming out. But
And
it
that's
was.
okay.
It's like I know. Like I'm not saying it in a way where I'm a bad mom. I did wrong or anything like that.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Yeah. It's just been.
But it's hard. It's hard done. I think when we realize, wow, I still have areas where I need to grow in. Like we realize we're open to it, but then it hits us with a ton of bricks when we realize, wait, I thought I was good in this department. Like, why am I
Mm-hmm,
experiencing this? I thought I
mm-hmm,
was okay. I thought I was
mm-hmm.
doing a pretty good job. And this doesn't mean that you're not,
Nah.
right? For those
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
us that are going through this, and we do have these hiccups or roadblocks that we're going to experience. But again, it's just one of those, it's not a setback. It's more like, wow, it's a realization. You're having an aha moment
Mm-hmm.
that is going to help, like you said, help you grow and move forward. Okay, well, that means I need to just keep working at it. I need to make
Right.
adjustments and realign myself,
Right.
right? So that
Right.
next time, maybe I can switch things up a bit. Maybe I can respond differently.
Exactly. So,
Mhm,
that's going to be, I feel like the biggest breakaway tip, right, for me to offer is
mhm,
that trust me, we all have blind spots,
mhm,
right? And they're all a part of being human at the end of the day,
mhm,
right? And the goal here isn't to be perfect, like you said, it's to be aware. And this is what, if you listen to my episodes, you know that I'm so big on that, like reflect, be aware, right? Because like you just said, once you become aware, you can choose differently. And
mhm,
so I'm going to do my best to choose differently,
mhm. Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. It's beautifully said. I love
Thank you.
that. I love, love, love. That is something that I think at the end of the day, like you said, your listeners are hopefully you piece it together, Don, and you're allowing others like it's okay. It's
Mhm.
not a mistake, it's just a realization, right?
Yes, and this is not just for us as parents, but for the children that are listening. The young, I think I have some young listeners, right?
Mhm,
Remember that your mom or dad is human and they were, a
mhm.
child and you guys don't come with a manual, right? And
No.
so I hope if you're listening today, you can, take a second to yourself, right? And see if you have a blind spot and see how you handle it with love,
I
right?
love that.
And how do you parent? How do you deal with that conflict? So I think if you choose the approach of you know coming with the curiosity and the love, and I just feel you'll be more not only gentle with yourself but also with your child.
Mhm. Beautiful. Well
Thank you.
said.
So remember, you are not behind, you are becoming. So you have to remember to keep pushing, keep shining, keep thriving. Hashtag self love.